Hey, what's up guys? Ophelia coming at you with another awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and today's deck profile is related to our most recent archetype analysis, which was on the Trickstars. If you haven't already, I definitely recommend going checking that out, because I will be going over the cards that we're featuring in this deck in more detail in that video, as well as remembering to like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so you're updated when I make new videos and upload them. Now I have a small disclaimer for this video. It is going to be running some OCG exclusive cards, as I wanted to highlight as many of the Trickstar cards in this deck profile as possible, as they're one of my favorite archetypes in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I love playing around with them. So bear in mind that this deck is not a TCG legal deck. It is a deck designed solely for casual play, so keep that in mind as I'm going through the cards. But without any further ado guys, let's get into the profile. Starting off guys, we have 3 copies of Trickstar Carabin. When she is normal summoned, we get to search our deck for any Trickstar card added to our hand, pretty straightforward. As well as that, she burns our opponent 200 points every time they activate and resolve a spell or trap card. Being the strongest level 4 attack point monster, and being able to search our deck for any card instantly makes her a 3-of in the deck. Our only other 3-of in terms of monsters is 3 copies of Trickstar Lycris. Pretty straightforward. She can be special summoned from your hand as a quick effect by targeting another Trickstar monster you control, summoning Lycris to the field, and bouncing the other one back to your hand. Because it's a quick effect, you can target one Trickstar monster, special summon up to 3 Lycrises from your hand, and then it's like the easiest way to get 3 monsters on the field in one turn with Trickstars, especially very early on, unless you're using something like Chain Summoning, which I find bricks a lot, which is why I don't run it. Her other effect is the main reason why you hate her. She's able to burn your opponent. She burns your opponent 200 points of damage every time they add a card or cards to their hand. Definitely worth running at 3 given her burn effect, and if you really need to, she's the easiest way to get link materials out on the field in the deck consistently. Next up guys, we have 2 copies of Trickstar Lilybell. Now this is a monster people normally either play at 1 or 0. I like playing her at 2 because I feel if you run her at 3, you'll see her too much, and if you play her at 1, you'll never see her at the right time, or you'll see her too early and you won't be able to abuse her special summon effect. So she can be special summoned as a hard once per turn from your hand if she's added to your hand outside drawing, so if she's searched or if she's added there from your graveyard or field. There's lots of ways in the archetype to actually abuse that as well. She's able to attack your opponent directly, and when she deals damage to your opponent, you're able to target a Trickstar monster in your graveyard and bounce it back to your hand. So, and given that she's a level 2, she's able to go into your Link 1, but being able to spellbridge a bunch of Trickstar monsters, attack directly, and having that special summon effect is very, very handy. Next up guys, we have 2 copies of Trickstar Rahode. So Rahode has the ability that as a hard once per turn, you can discard a Trickstar card, then special summon a targeted Trickstar Link monster in your graveyard. And her other effect is when your opponent banishes cards from their graveyard, you can burn your opponent 200 points of damage immediately for each card banished. Really good effect to bring back Link monsters so you continue your Link plays, because discarding cards like Mandrake and Reincarnation are really, really good ways to get those cards in the graveyard, so you can bring back Mandrake from her effect and banish Reincarnation to special summon your Trickstar monsters from the grave, or discarding a Trickstar that you want to bring back with Magic Corolla makes Rahode definitely worth playing. Also, her burn effect can really threaten a lot of decks reliant on banishing from the graveyard, so very, very good card to run it to. Next up guys, we have 2 copies of Trickstar Narcissus. Now Narcissus is an interesting card. I either see run at 3 or at none normally. I think 2 is the right amount because she can be special summoned as a hard once per turn when your opponent takes effect damage, except during the damage step, which is pretty normal. And then of course her other effect burns your opponent for 200 points of damage every time they activate a monster effect in their hand and in their graveyard. So you're basically now, and originally with Trickstars, you really couldn't burn them in your turn. Now with a bunch of the new support we have, she can be special summoned in our turn, making her an easy link material. So definitely worth running 2 copies of her is pretty good. Next up guys, we have 1 copy of Trickstar Mandrake. So if Mandrake is sent from your hand to the graveyard, she can be special summoned back to the field in defense mode. Unfortunately after this, she's banished if she leaves the field. Her other effect is if she's sent from the field to the graveyard for the link summon of a Trickstar monster, you can target a monster your opponent's link monster points to and destroy it. This second effect is a hunt once per turn. Now there's lots of ways for discarding in the Trickstar deck. Obviously Rahode is one of them and Crimson Heart is another, and Mandrake becomes a perfect target for those 2 cards. Now I was originally running 2 copies of Mandrake, but I found her to brick a little bit, so I find running 1 copy of her is pretty good. She's also a level 2, so she can go into your Link 1. The other one-off we play is Trickstar Nightshade, so if she's sent to the field to the graveyard for the link summon of a Trickstar monster, you can special summon her back. However, she's banished if she leaves the field, much like Mandrake. There is a link monster in the deck that's able to bring your banished Trickstar cards back to your hand, so you don't have to worry about that too much. The main reason I like running 1 copy of Nightshade is she does have some really good synergy with the Link 1. So you'll normally link summon your Nightshade, you'll use her to link summon into your Link 1 Trickstar Bloom. Nightshade's effect will activate and you'll bring Nightshade back from the grave, and then you can use those 2 to go into a Link 2. So very good at 1. I wouldn't run her at more than 1 because she can brick, because she does take up your normal summon. Next up, guys, is our first exclusive OCG card for the time being. Hopefully we'll be getting this card soon. It is Trickstar Carabin. So Carabin has 2 effects, and you can only use one of the effects per turn and only once per turn. Her first effect allows her to be special summoned from your hand if you either control no monsters or all your monsters are Trickstars, so pretty easy summoning conditions in a pure Trickstar deck. Her other effect allows you to, as a quick effect, when another Trickstar monster you control battles, you can ditch her from your hand to double the battling Trickstar monster's attack points until the end of the turn. Now, there's some really cool plays you can pull off with the spell Bouquet, where you can return a summoned Carabin to your hand after she's attacked if you've brought her back with something like out or into the field with Magic Corolla or Reincarnation. You can attack with Carabin, use Bouquet to bounce Carabin back to your hand, bumping 2k to the other Trickstar monster, and then you can discard Carabin to double that Trickstar monster you just pumped up's attack. So she's actually definitely good to run at 2. I find running her at 3 to be a little bit bricky because I'd open up with 3 of them and I can't special summon her and double her attack in the same turn, which is a little bit upsetting. Because I only run 2 Carabin, I do run 1 copy of Honest. Honest isn't a Trickstar monster, but he is a level 4 Light Fairy, and so he does kind of fit the theme, and he works really well as a combo with Carabin, much like Score and Honest work really well together for Melodious. Next up, guys, 1 copy of Ash. I mean, Ash is really one of the only ways Trickstars actually have access to halting the opponent's plays, except by threatening burn. I mean, lots of people these days will do their searches anyway, or do their effects, even if they take the burn, because Trickstars are only small amounts of 200. Once you get a bunch of them out, though, they might get a bit more scared. But Ash is really good at really halting the opponent's plays when you can. She's also a level 3 tuner monster, which is the same reason why we play 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. So we can actually go into level 7 synchros, and there's a particular level 7 synchro I really wanted to run in the deck, and now I can because I run the hand traps. Pretty straightforward there. Next up, guys, we have, moving on to the spells, we have 3 copies of Light Stage. Light Stage, when activated, lets us search our deck for any Trickstar monster. So if we search Lilybell, we can special summon Lilybell. Once per turn, we can target a set card in our opponent's spell and trap card zone. We force them to activate it in the end phase, or they send to the graveyard. And the other effect, of course, when our Trickstar monster deals battle or effect damage to our opponent, they take an extra 200. Very powerful field spell. Unfortunately, I'm not running Lithe Arena, guys, because I was going to run it at 1, but then Ancient Fairy got hit, so there's really no point in running it because it's really awkward to switch between the 2 field spells. So unfortunately, we don't run Lithe Arena at this stage. Next up, we play, I mentioned it before, 2 copies of Trickstar Bouquet. It targets a Trickstar monster on the field and another face-up monster. You bounce the targeted Trickstar to your hand and increase the attack of the other monster by the attack points of the targeted Trickstar you bounce. Now, what makes this card so good is the monster you have to give the attack points to doesn't have to be your monster. And this card combos really well with both Lilybell and Carabin, because Lilybell will be added to your hand, so you can special summon Lilybell back. And if you've brought Carabin out to the field by another way, or if she survived a turn, or even doing this in your opponent's turn, you can bounce Carabin back to your hand, pump 2k to your other Trickstar, and then discard her even if they still want to bid over your Trickstar you get the power to. So Bouquet is definitely good to run at 2. It's also got Trickstar in its name, so you can discard it if you need to for Rahode or Crimson Heart. The only downside of Bouquet is it is a once per turn, but it's still pretty good for a once per turn card. Next up, guys, is the Vrains pack exclusive currently, Trickstar Equip spell, Trickstar Magic Corolla. Works as a pseudo monster reborn for the deck. You target a Trickstar monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and equip it to this card. Obviously, if the equip spell is destroyed or leaves the field, the monster it's equipped to is destroyed as well. But it's also, you can only activate it once per turn, and its effect can only be activated once per turn. So its effect allows you to, whenever your Trickstar monster you've equipped it to deals battle or effect damage to your opponent, you get to special summon a Trickstar monster from your hand. So it's pretty insane. A pseudo Monster Reborn, but a much better version of Monster Reborn, which is why I don't actually run Monster Reborn in the deck at the moment. I might add it later, but it's really good. There's a really good link monster it combos with Foxy Witch, where you bring Foxy back, and when she special summons, she burns your opponent, and you can immediately activate the effect straight away. It also works really well for Lilybell, because you can, if you've got a bunch of Trickstars in your grave, you can add one back with Lilybell, use Corolla to special summon one, and then if you've got a Lycris in your hand, you do the Lycris effect, you know what I mean. Usual combo is pretty good. Corolla is definitely worth running at 2 copies. Hopefully you get it in TCG soon, because it's such a good card. Next up, guys, 3 copies of Terra, pretty straightforward to search for Light Stage. 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, again, very straightforward to deal with opponent's back row. I don't play Twin Twister because I actually need to keep hand as much as possible in this deck. Trickstars don't have too much hand plus outside of running Chain Summoning, so I don't really want to run it because it's a bit of a brick. But obviously, I also run 2 copies of Darkroom. Now, I run Darkroom. I think Darkroom is more valuable for Trickstars than Chain Summoning, because Chain Summoning can become a brick mid to late game, and you have to run at least 2 to 3 copies of Chain Summoning for it to not for it to be relevant to your hand, but then it takes up 3 slots in your deck. Dark Room 9 times out of 10 is not a brick draw because so many of your monsters do burn, and Nightmare will burn when they burn from Trickstars. And it also targets off the field spell. And if you have a field spell, a Dark Room, and 1 Lycra set up, every time your opponent gets a card to their hand, they're going to lose 1,000 life points. So Dark Room quickly becomes a threat. Moving on to our traps, guys, we have 3 copies of Reincarnation. Pretty straightforward. When you activate it, your opponent banishes their hand, draws the same amount, and then, of course, the important part is you can banish it from your graveyard to special summon a Trickstar you've targeted in your graveyard. Pretty cool. I would actually like this card to come back to 3 in OCG because the banish effect is so important. And 9 times out of 10, if I really don't care about what my opponent's doing and I just want to burn, I'll just discard it for Rahode or for Crimson Heart just to get it into the graveyard for that special summon. It's also obviously really good at disrupting your opponent's plays because you can play it after they do a massive search and then you can hit it. There is an anime exclusive card that lets you play it from your hand and activate it in the same turn, but we don't have it at the moment, and I'll be talking about some anime exclusive cards in the special video I'm doing very, very soon, which you guys might want to check out. And finally, we play 2 copies of Strike and Warning. I don't have a space for a Judgment. If I did, I would play it, but yeah, that's just it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. Now, the extra deck I've designed as much as possible to highlight some of my favorite monsters used by some of my favorite female characters throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh history. If there's any you guys think I could include that relate to my theme, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. So starting off, guys, 2 copies of Bloom. Now, Bloom I could easily still go back to play as 1, but her ability to force the opponent to draw can be really clutch for you because you can, say you need to burn that last 600 damage and you got 3 Lycras out, you can always just go into this and burn your opponent for that much needed damage. She can only be summoned using a link level 2 or lower Trickstar, so there's only currently 3 monsters in the archetype that can go into it. But obviously the combo with Nightshade is just so good, which I explained before. And then, of course, if a Trickstar monster she points to is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the grave, you get to burn your opponent for 200 points for every card in their hand. And that is all hard once per turn. But she's still worth running at least 1. I might cut her back down to 1 if I feel like I find something else I want to run instead. But for now, 2 copies is perfectly fine. Next up, guys, 2 copies of Trickstar Holy Angel. Now, Holy Angel is still a very good card. Just the way she points and the way the Trickstar deck has gone, she's not really super consistent in the way I play the deck that I want to put her out really, really early. The downside is she does need to be the Trickstar monster in your extra monster zone because her arrowheads don't really point left and right, so you can't put her in your main zone. Her effect basically protects all Trickstar monsters she points to from being destroyed by battle or card effect, and whenever you summon the Trickstar monster to a zone she points to, you burn your opponent for 200 points of damage. And then the thing that makes Holy Angel so annoying is that she gains 2 whenever your opponent takes damage from a Trickstar monster's effect, she gains the attack that they took as effect damage. So pretty straightforward, can get pretty big, has some nice protection for a Link 2 as well. Next up, guys, I play 1 copy of Catbat because Catbat is my favorite Trickstar, basically. A lot of people won't run her because her link markers are pretty awkward, but she still has a pretty decent effect, and there's a lot of cards that combo really well with her, particularly some anime ones, which, again, I'll talk about in my video when I do that. But she requires two Trickstar monsters, and every time a monster she points to is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, your opponent takes 200 points of damage. And then each time your opponent takes damage from a Trickstar monster's effect, all the monsters they have on the field that are face up lose 200 attack until the end of the turn. So there's lots of really cool combos that you can utilize with that. So if you have her and Holy Angel out, they're going to lose attack points. And they're going to lose attack points every time they take damage, and then Holy Angel's going to gain that attack. So it's a nice little combo they have there. And if you have Holy Angel pointing to Catbat, which you probably will, Catbat can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. So pretty cool. Next up, guys, 2 copies of Trickstar Crimson Heart. Now, this is currently a jump promo in the America. We don't actually have it in Australia at the moment, so that's why we only have proxies for it. It requires 2 Trickstar monsters, and her effect is whenever you summon a Trickstar monster to a zone she points to, you gain 200 life points. I mean, the 200 life point gain is pretty irrelevant, but I do like the fact that it keeps that 200 point theme. And then, of course, you can discard a Trickstar card from your hand and force both players to draw a card. And if you activate this effect when you have 2,000 more life points than your opponent, which most of the time with Trickstars you probably will, you get to draw 2. So this effect is a hard once per turn, but definitely worth running at 2 because she's the easiest way to get a +1 in Trickstars in terms of drawing cards. Next up, guys, moving on to the OCG exclusive Link monster at the moment, which is Trickstar Foxy Witch. I do play 2 copies of Foxy Witch because she's insanely good. When she is special summoned, your opponent takes 200 points of damage for every card they control, and that's on special summon. So that's not sure if that's counted as an activated effect, but it's still really, really powerful. Then and it's when she's special summoned, so if you bring her back from the graveyard with like Rahode, Corolla, or Reincarnation, her effect will activate again. Then if she's been link summoned, if she's destroyed by battle or card effect, and sent to the graveyard. You burn your opponent again, 200 points of damage for every card they control, and then you float into a Link 2 or lower Trickstar from your grave. So very, very good monster to play. She is a Link 3, but she only requires 2 or more Trickstar monsters. So she's not too hard to summon in the deck, but she's definitely worth running at 2 copies because she's just so good. Hopefully we get her eventually in the TCG because she's easily the best Link monster that the Trickstars have. The next Link 3 we have is Trickstar Deck. Only play 1 copy of her because she's very situational. She requires 2 or more Trickstar monsters, and when she declares an attack while pointing to a Trickstar monster, you get to add banished Trickstar cards to your hand equal to the number of Link monsters your opponent controls, and then for each one you add, she gains 1000 attack until end of turn. So she's able to bring back your banished cards, which is going to be your Nightshades, your Mandrakes, and your Reincarnations, or any other cards your opponent has banished. And being able to gain attack points is pretty good. Unfortunately, given the way she points, she's either going to have to sit right underneath your extra monster zone or in your extra monster zone. But at least you can put her in your main monster zone, and her effect is pretty decent. She can gain a bunch of attack, and then of course you can always drop a Caravan to double her attack, which is really, really cool. Next up, guys, our last 2 Trickstar monsters are 2 copies of Madonna. Now, Madonna is the Link 4. I mean, for a Link 4, she's kind of meh. She does have some protection for herself if she doesn't point to anything. She's unaffected by other cards' activated effects. Unfortunately, that includes your own. There are ways to abuse this, of course. And then once per turn, as a hard once per turn, if she doesn't point to anything, you can burn your opponent 200 points of damage for every Trickstar in your graveyard with a different name. Unfortunately, it's Trickstar monster, not card. But she is still, that burn can be pretty relevant if you get a bunch in, because you're going to be whittling your opponent away lots of little bits before you go into her. As well as that, she does have some interesting link markers that allow her to be actually abused. So what's interesting, she doesn't point top right or top left. So you can actually have a Holy Angel pointing to Madonna, and Madonna can't actually be destroyed because it's a continuous effect from Holy Angel that stops her being destroyed by battle or card effects. So every turn you can just burn. And if you set her up right, you can get a bunch of Link monsters on the field, burn your opponent with her, and she still can't be destroyed. And then if she's swinging, or you burn her, you can always use an effect to bring back something like Foxy Witch, burn your opponent, have her point to a zone, have her next to a zone when Madonna points. Then Madonna can actually be affected by card effects, and you'll just drop a Caravan and you'll double her to 5600. So pretty cool combos you can pull with Madonna. You're probably only going to make 1, but I like running 2 now just because I have the space for it in my ED. Now moving on to our non-link monsters, we have obviously the 2 Black Rose. We have Black Rose Dragon, normal when it's special, I think it's when it's special summoned, blow up your opponent's field. Obviously I don't have an English one. And then obviously Moonlight, when it's special summoned, or a level 5 or higher monster you control, level 5 or higher monster is special summoned to your opponent's field. You get to target a special summon monster your opponent controls, bounces to the hand. Now you make these with any level 4 Trickstar monster and a hand trap, and the reason why I want to play these is they are Akiza's monsters, and Akiza is my favorite character from 5Ds, so finally have a deck where I can run the Black Rose Dragons, which is pretty cool. And our last monster in our extra deck is Ragnar Zero. She is Rio's card, and she's one of the only Rio cards I could actually play in the deck. Could play Ragnarfinity, but then I need to play a rank up, and I'm already pretty tight for space in the main deck as well. She combos really well with monsters, with cards you actually have in the archetype already, so when she's, during per turn during either player's turn, you can detach an XYZ to target a monster your opponent controls whose attack is different from its original attack, destroy it, and if you do, draw a card. And before you think that's a little hard to pull off, there is actual monsters and cards in the Trickstar deck that actually hit your opponent's monster's attack points. So obviously, Bouquet is one of them because you're increasing your opponent, you can increase your opponent's monster's attack, and then of course you also have Catbat, which can decrease your opponent's monster's attack points. So there are some decent reasons why you can actually play Ragnar Zero at 1 in the deck, and that's why I play her. But anyway guys, that's it for my profile. If you guys have any suggestions on what I could add to my extra deck in terms of keeping the theme of strong female characters, obviously I was going to play Ancient Fairy Dragon, but I can't now because she got banned. But anyway guys, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. Some of my other deck profiles are getting close to 1,000 views. Obviously Harpies is over 4,000 at the moment, which I really do appreciate. But we might want to go check out some of those other profiles, and I will be doing a video soon talking about the anime exclusive Trickstar cards. Until then guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you for my next